So good morning, everyone. My name is Rohan Tyagi, and I thank you all for joining us as we discuss the capabilities of HP's AppPulse software as a service offering. So today, the agenda would be as such. We would utilize most of our time for the solution demonstration rather than going through these slides. Let's start with the first one. We'll discuss about the importance of business applications and why do we even care about measuring the performance and why do we have to monitor the business applications. So the main thing is the brand loyalty. If your performance or if your application is perceived as having a slow application, then the customers might lose faith in you. Customer satisfaction is another reason we need to keep our applications healthy, employee productivity, and obviously revenue. What happens when the business applications run into outages and they are not available? It brings, it's kind of a walk of shame for the IT team when you encounter outages. For example, a recent outage at United Airlines brought their most critical application down, and it just did not bring a loss in revenue, but it also was in headlines for no good reason. So we will definitely want to avoid such situations. So to avoid such situations or to monitor the application performance, these are the key goals of the application performance management solution. You would need to reduce the mean time to resolution in case of any issues and problems. You would want to improve the application performance. You want to prevent the outages. And finally, you would also want to lower the IT support cost. Now, how can you achieve it? To achieve it, the ideal situation is you would be looking for a solution which can monitor all your applications, whether they are deployed on your internal data center or they are deployed on cloud or whichever kind of application it is. It should be the application performance management solution should be easy to deploy and administer. It should be able to isolate issues quickly within a couple of clicks. It should have the predictive analytic capabilities, which can inform you about any potential outages before they occur. And in the end, you should have satisfied end users. So we introduced AppPulse Active, which will take care of all these APM goals we discussed in the previous slide. It is easy to use and it gets up and running within 5 minutes. It will treat your application like a VIP. With VIP, we mean it provides you visibility into the application's health. It helps isolate problems and availability issues, and it also has the predictive analytics feature, which give you early warning of any potential outages. The HP's AppPulse Active can monitor any kind of application, whether it is a web application, mobile, deployed in the cloud, or any traditional app. Its intuitive interface, the user interface, which is HTML5 based, will help you isolate the performance and availability issues with its dynamic graphs and reporting capabilities, the alerting features. With this application transactions, the application's performance can be divided into transaction performance or location performance or even the DNS time and SSL time, each and every component contributing to the performance or the response time of your application. It gives you visibility into the service level agreements. Say you can create service level agreements for your applications, whether they are hosted by you or you have a contract with the third party vendor and you want to keep a track on the SLAs. So service level management capabilities are incorporated in AppPulse Active. And as we discussed before, it has the predictive analytic capabilities, which constantly learns the behavior of the application by monitoring and then correlating end-to-end performance of the application with your infrastructure metrics about your app server and web server. It has a flexible pricing feature where you can start with a free trial and then go on a month-to-month basis and see how the software performs or how the software fits into your needs, and then you can go for a flexible term, which would give you further capabilities of support. And then it is more a long term, like 6 to 12 months. And then if you are a big enterprise and looking for a complete enterprise level setup, then we also have more flexibility on the pricing. So some of the other added advantages are that the interface is totally HTML5 based, so you would not see any browser compatibility issues. You can look into your application's performance, whether working on your laptop or on your tablet or a mobile phone. So it is monitoring your application performance anywhere, anytime. It integrates with HP Operations Manager, which would provide you the capabilities for this single kind of class of events. It can throw events to the HP Operations Manager. To measure the performance of your application server and more metrics and more specifics, we have the diagnostics agent, which we can deploy on the environment and capture more metrics. And it supports both Vusion and TrueClient scripts. So if you already have the Vusion scripts created, you can use the same, you can leverage the same script and run it on AppPulse. Now, service benefits are like you do not have to worry about the administration. You would not have to worry about any upgrades and maintenance. HP will take care of it. It has a service level objective of 99% and the pay-as-you-go feature, as we discussed in the last slide. Okay, so let's quickly move on to the solution demonstration. So as soon as you launch the application from sas.hp.com, you would land on this first page, which is called as the landing page. And here it says application overview, which gives you an overview of all the applications which you have in your environment being monitored by AppPulse. As you scroll down, you will see all the applications listed here. This is the landing page, and it would give you a high-level overview of how your application is performing. These key performance indicators are tied to show whether the application is doing well from the perspective of availability, or is there any issue related to performance. Let's take a look into one of these applications we have here, online banking. So ideally, we have these 4 tabs on the right-hand side, or the 4 components, major components of AppPulse Active. With the app status, you can drill into the metrics captured for performance and both availability. With ServiceLevel Management, you can keep track of your service level agreement created. With the AppServer tab, you get the metrics trended for your app servers or any other infrastructure-related metrics you're capturing. And with the Analytics tab, you would get the Predictive Analytics features and their dashboards and metrics. So on the first page itself, that, for example, here it says 2 failed transactions from all locations, which means that only 2 transactions are not available in your application. Other than that, your application, other transactions are working fine. However, in this case, it says your site is down, which means the entire application is down and it's not available at all. On the same area on the landing page, here you would see alerts, and you can view your alerts which have been generated in the past regarding these applications. Right now, there are no alerts, but you can go back in the history and see what kind of alerts were generated. So let's go further down into the application status and go to the application status pane, and you would see that on this page you have 2 tabs. One says the availability stats, which are 99% available, and the performance, which is 91%, and the average response time of your complete application is 3.36 seconds. Now, this is giving you an overview of how your application is it available over a period of time or not. On the left-hand side, you would see all the transactions which are the critical transactions which are part of your applications, which you are monitoring. As you can see here, this data is captured this data shown here is between 9:12 p.m. to 9 a.m. because I have selected a 12-hour period, and you can just select days. It would show up with 24 hours of data. You can select a week, month, and then you can also customize it as per your requirement. So as we were looking into the 12 hours data, it shows that most of the transactions here on top are available 100%, but we are having problems with the order checkbook transactions. So you can further within a few clicks, go and check why this application is not available and what are the locations which are affected. There is one more area which I would show you where you can see how the locations are performing, but this area will give you the error code or the error end user might be looking at when they try to access this application or when they try to access this particular transaction. So it says they got the HTTP status code 404 error when they try to run this transaction. And the location which is affected is Atlanta and Boston and Amsterdam. So all these three locations are having similar kind of problems. Now, if you have enabled the snapshot capture feature while recording your script, you can also see the snapshot of the exact thing, the exact error the users might be looking at in their browsers while they access this application. But right now, the snapshot is not enabled for this transaction. And on the same thing, you can also switch to a different transaction if you want to see the performance of a different other transaction. So as we saw in the graph, most of the other transactions are performing well, so we do not have any problems here. But if we go back, I see a data of past day. Then there are other applications as well which are not performing that well. All right, I was talking about the location isolation. So here, if you further scroll down, it would show you how the application is performing from different locations. We are right now monitoring this application from 3 locations. One is Atlanta, the other one is Boston, and the third one is Amsterdam. Now, this feature, this playback feature, will take you back. So right now it's 9 a.m. It can take you back until 12 hours, the period which you have selected in the pane right top on the top here. And if you click on that, it will start from that period, and you can pause and play it again and see where the actual problems started appearing. So you can see here that at 9:15, these 3 locations were having problems. The application was not available at that time from all the 3 locations. And when we started going further at 11 or around this time, the performance was fine. The applications were available. And as we went further, overall, the application has been running smooth so far until this time in the morning. So this would give you where exactly the exact time when the application started having problems, and then you can go further and look into your logs, and you can further get insight based on the timestamp on the logs. Now you can go back and click on the performance tab to reach the performance tab area. However, you can just click on this, and you would see the performance data related to your application. So again, this would show you how your application is performing overall, and each transaction, how they are performing over time. And if you click, for example, on any one of these these transactions, now since we are on the performance tab, the performance metrics will show up on this drill down. Now, this is the order checkbooks transaction, which is listed here, and it would show you the transaction response time. You can trend as many applications, as many transactions as you want, and you can remove the ones which you are not interested in. So right now we do not have any problems with the order checkbook, so let's remove it and compare these 2 transactions, and we can see that the money transfer set amount transaction is in a warning status, and this one, which is critical, is taking like 14 seconds and even more at times. At 8:05 p.m., this is the data capture for this transaction. Now, if you want to drill to these transactions, you would see the transaction breakdown on the basis of where the server requests are taking most of their times. Whether it is the client time, it is the download time, or retry time, each one of those would be graphed here. And if you click further on that, it would show up. Right now, it does not have that data, but it would show up each and every component breakdown here. Let me show you a better graph which has those breakdowns enabled. So as you can see here that the entire transaction is broken down into different categories. Like this one is the download time. It is taking this much time in download. This much is the SSL time, and this much is the connection time. And if you click on one of these bar graphs, you would see each and every component of your transaction, how much it is contributing to the response time overall. So these are categorized on the basis of the components existing in your business transaction. So if we go back on this layer, on this graph, it would show you backend layers, or where it will divide the information on the basis of the tiers, whether it is spending more time on the web tier, or it is spending more time on the business tier, or on the outbound calls. So here you would get an overview of which layer of your application needs to be taken care of. So we can see that mostly it is taking time in the web tier, so we need to fix something on our web server, so we need to check why it is taking longer on our web tier. Now, since we were talking about the components, I would like to also show you one more thing. There are some times when we have the in-house application or the homegrown applications, but we also use a third-party component or an embedded component of a third-party vendor, which might not as compatible to our application, that it might be a source of excessive response time. So, for example, this WordPress application, in this one, most of the components are homegrown, but I know that there is one component, a chat component, which I have added, incorporated from a different vendor. Now, if I click on the no glass URL like we did before and go ahead to the synthetic layer investigation, and I further drill down in one of these graphs, on this area, the component breakdown area, I can see that everything else is related to no glass, no glass, no glass. And the other thing is the external component is the virtual split. This is the messaging interface which I incorporated so that my users can interact with me over the chat. And I can see that this component, third-party component, is contributing to this much of my total response time. So if it was pointing towards a major chunk of the response time, then I can go back to the third-party vendor and say that, okay, this component is causing a lot of issues with our application, then we need to fix that. So this is how the component breakdown feature will help you isolate problems and identify the problems. Now, this was from the application performance status. There are, obviously, you can further drill and look into more capabilities, more metrics on those. But let's move on to the second section, which is the service level management. Now, if you have your SLAs defined for the applications, then on the service level management pane, you can see the overall service level, service status on this page, and also you can see the service status of each and every application. Now, it can be based on availability, or it can also be based on the performance data. And these graphs are again available here for these transactions. They are trended here, and to show you that out of your 3.36 seconds of response time, these are the transactions which are either breaching their SLAs, like this one, or they are applied to their SLAs. So service level management feature would give you the capability of defining new SLAs and managing them. Now on the AppServer Status page, we are also capturing some metrics from your app servers where your applications are installed. So on this landing page of AppServer Status, you would see that the overall CPU utilization is 3.9%, and these are the other metrics which are captured here, like the VM heap used and the time spent in the collections behind the scenes. And now these are the metrics which are trended here, but you can further drill down and see what are the other metrics which we are capturing right here, which is some of those are like latency, CPU average, throughput. And now you can, if something is not trending on the right-hand side, and if you want to see it trended like a graph, you can just select it and drag and drop it on the right-hand side, and it will show you, it will trend those metrics for you. You can set thresholds and alerts even on these metrics so that once they are above a certain level, you can get alerted that, okay, CPU utilization on your web server is getting high, and this might cause a response time issue. So go ahead and take care of it. So you can set alerts on that and thresholds on that. So, and this is not the end user perspective, but this is the infrastructure or the app server monitoring capabilities within AppPulse. Now, this was the application metrics, and now if you go to the view server investigation, then you would see this is the summary, latency, throughput, and normalized CPU utilization. You can go to the memory pane, and you would see the VM heap size used, garbage collections, normalized, and same from the performance tab. Okay, let's move on to the analytics component. Analytics would do a predictive analytics, and on the top page of summary, you would see that it has identified that these are the two transactions, buy stock and saving to checking, which are 100% failed. These are really the affected transactions, and they have a business impact. And this is impacting both the locations. It's not just one place, but it is affecting both the locations where you have this application. And if you have, and it would show you the top causes. It would say that a new build was deployed during the 2 hours before anomaly started, and you can see if there is any. You can see the build content if you want to see what code changes were made here. If it has identified the known issue, it would show you here and would say that you can further investigate the pattern and all that. And in this tab, it says similar anomalies, which means that such kind of situation has arisen in the past, which was March 12 at 9:25 a.m. or March 22 at 9:25 a.m. and March 23 and so on. So predictive analytics is basically, it is learning the behavior of your application over time, and it finds out whether this is in a normal range or this is going beyond the thresholds or going beyond the normal range. It is tying these business transactions with the data collected from infrastructure or from the infrastructure layer. Like it could be a JDBC wait time, and it could be your CPU utilization, which might be causing the issues on your business application, the business transaction. So it is not just relying on the data captured from the end user perspective, but it is also merging the data, or it is also correlating the data with the metrics you are capturing on the infrastructure layer. Now, this was from the AppPulse dashboards, or how the AppPulse reports would look like. There is also a reporting feature where you can schedule reports and send the graphs and those dashboards and those over email, or you can generate. You can also create a capture if you just click on this button, which is the camera, and then you can create a capture this screen and send a screenshot like that. But let's talk about the ease of implementing this software or implementing this application, since we said that it gets up and running within 5 minutes. So let's take a look at it. So I have this environment where I'm the administrator, and I launch this application. As soon as I launch it, on the landing or on the first page itself, it would ask me whether I want to start monitoring. Let's say I start monitoring our website, and I would say start monitoring now. So this is a single step transaction, kind of URL monitoring. I have just enabled it to monitor my URL. Now, these are the small pop-ups which come up as you scroll between screens, and you can take help from these documents, these videos, and if you do not want that help, you can either close it or you can bring it up again with this button. Now, this is the area. It has not yet collected enough data to show here. So let's go ahead and go to the application settings and see what are the functions we can, or what are the areas we can take advantages of. So here you can edit your app's name, and now on the locations, we are monitoring this application from 3 locations right now: London, UK, New York, Paris. HP has its point of presence all over the world, and you would see different locations which you can add listed here to monitor your application. It's not just covering the North America, but it is covering all over the world. You can monitor your application from Korea, you can monitor your application from Singapore and UK and all that stuff. Even if your application is not accessible from outside the world, you can set up the private locations where you just need to download a small piece of software, and then it connects automatically to AppPulse using a simple configuration, and then you can keep trending the metrics of the applications which are behind the firewall. You can set the thresholds on them, and in case your application has multiple transactions, for example, here we just had a single step, which was the home page of ResultsPositive.com. Now, if you have multiple transactions, you can click here and add transactions here. Now, these transactions can be your scripts, which are already created using Vusion, or you can create your own scripts. So you can add a script transaction, but if you do not want to add a scripted transaction, then you can just go to the monitors and click on and select any one of these, like URL monitor, or if you want to start a ping monitor on that, port network monitor, or FTP monitor. So these are out-of-the-box monitors available right now related to monitoring the performance of your application. Now, another feature is the downtime management, which I wanted to talk about, downtime settings. So it will also give you capabilities of creating downtime. So when you are aware of a planned downtime and you want to stop sending alerts, or you can completely stop monitoring the application so that it does not screw up the KPIs or health indicators of your application. You can enable the downtime settings here. And there was one more feature of SLA Quick Start. So if you are not aware or you are not sure of what kind of SLAs you want to define for your application, then you can just click on SLA Quick Start, and it will create a SLA automatically for your application and start tracking on that. So this was a quick demonstration of how the application interface would look like and how easy is it to set up the application.